The following program was recorded before a dead studio audience.
Now, I want to remind you, Ned, that we're on. Hello, listeners. This is Quinn Quigley on Dyersville's own kput, the radio station we hope you're hearing. With me is Ned Campbell, our resident book reviewer.
Hello, folks. Today I'm going to begin reading the complete series of books by Collier's Encyclopedia. Mr. Collier's first story is called A, and it features lots of photos.
Ned, could you hold off on that?
Oh, sure. I've read this many times anyway.
And could you tidy up the show a bit? KPUT is getting a new on-air personality today, and our general manager wants this place sparkling. I'll be right back after this coffee break.
Well, I hope this guy doesn't read, because that's my job.
Oh, you must be Ned Campbell.
Yep.
I'm Jerry McCool, Jerry the Jazzer to my pals back in Chicago.
Chicago, eh? What are you here for?
Well, I couldn't get a steady gig there, so I decided to make my break in radio here in Dyersville. Say, Ned, are you any relation to Ned Roach, drummer for Miles Davis?
I don't think so.
Well, me neither, man, but that cat could swing like nobody.
So I guess you're a musician, huh?
Oh, yeah, I play keys. I'm also a composer. I got some originals in an upcoming album. It's called The Weather Channel's Greatest Hits. Yeah.
Well, Mr. McCool, we've got lots of shows to play, so you might have to wait before you get on the air.
Oh, no problem, man. Hey, I got lots of practice sitting around since I've been unemployed. So just tell me when I'm on.
And now it's time for One Day to Live, the terminal daytime drama.
On the last episode of One Day to Live...
Nurse, have I ever told you that I find you relatively attractive?
Doctor, what's come over you?
I'm Bob, Dr. Robert Allen Kilbury's identical twin brother who has the same name, but with one less L in Allen. And my brother has just told me that I have about 17 minutes left to live.
I have good news, Mr. Kilbury. The lab just called and said that your test was accidentally switched with Dr. Kilbury's.
Nurse, have I ever told you that I find you relatively attractive?
And now today's episode of One Day to Live.
I guess this is it. Before I go, I want to give you something, Bob.
Yes?
Here, take these tickets you just gave me. And you can have my watch, too. It's a little slow, though. Tell my wife my last thoughts were...
Yes?
Of her.
Of her what? He's gone. There are no more doctors alive in this town. Who's going to tell everyone they're going to die?
As his identical twin brother, you know what you should do, don't you?
Pretend I'm him? Take out a huge loan and go to Vegas?
I was thinking you should pretend you're him and take over his practice. Here, help me get him undressed.
It's a little late for him now, isn't it?
He has 2 more appointments today. Get into his clothes and here's a copy of his speech. Memorize it.
Fill in the blank. I'm sorry, but you have only one day to live. Fill in the blank. I'm sorry, but you have only one day to live. I don't think I can do this, nurse, damn it. I don't know anything about medicine. My handwriting's too easily read, and I don't even play golf.
Don't worry. Just use the hand you don't write with. And there aren't any doctors left to play golf with anyway. All you need to do is tell people to get plenty of exercise, stop smoking, and they're going to die. There's a 445 with a woman who has 1 day to live, but the next patient is an ingrown toenail. His name is Philip Norris de Blank. I'll have him come right in when he gets here.
So I just tell him to get plenty of exercise and stop smoking.
I'll take care of Dr. Kilbury. You keep practicing your speech.
I'm sorry, fill in the blank, but you have only 1 day to live. I'm sorry, fill in the blank, but you have only 1 day to live.
What? I have only 1 day to live?
No, not you. I said I'm sorry, fill in the blank.
That's my name, Phil Norris de Blank. I had no idea ingrown toenails could be fatal.
No, this is all a mistake.
Yeah, right. Like the people at the lab make mistakes.
Be with us next time, if you're still with us, for another episode of One Day to Live.
Here's what Iowans are saying about Blap Krindinkle, candidate for governor.
Blap? What's a blap?
Oh, yeah, he's the dead one, right?
My dog makes that noise when he's sick. Yeah, Blap Krindinkle.
Blap is the most qualified candy I know. Or Canada. Did I say candy?
Krennickel? Why, that bastard owes me money.
Blap, man. Too bad he stopped playing live.
Blap is way cool. What do I get for saying this?
Hello, I'm Senator Blap Krennickel.
Ah, come on. No way.
No, really, I am.
Blap Krennickel. Either you know him or you don't. Paid for by Krennickel for something or other.
Governor. I don't know.
Elegant entertaining with ease, with Mary Pat and Mary Beth.
Hello, welcome to our kitchen. I'm Mary Pat.
And I'm Mary Beth.
In case you weren't able to join us yesterday, we're bringing you a new recipe each day this week. But they're not just any recipes, are they, Mary Beth?
No, they're not, Mary Pat. Each day we'll bring you the elegant, the sophisticated cuisine with Jell-O.
I love Jell-O. It is so colorful.
Festive, and it's great for your fingernails because it has protein.
It does. It's very nutritious and delicious. And today we're going to make a salad, aren't we?
Yes, Mary Pat. Salad is very important for getting all our nutrients.
It is. And Jell-O salad, it's a perfect way to get children to eat vegetables.
My husband and Joe will only eat vegetables if they're in a Jell-O mold.
I'll eat anything if it's in a Jell-O mold.
So get out those Knox blocks and let's get to work.
Ready, Mary Beth? Okay. Here's the recipe. Take a large package of lime Jell-O.
The same color as salad greens.
Isn't that clever? Your guests will never even notice the difference.
Mix the Jell-O according to package directions.
Add 1 cup of lettuce, 1/2 cup celery, 2 carrots.
Chopped. They add the color contrast.
And the vitamin A. And sliced cucumber is optional.
Pour the salad into a leaf mold.
I'd eat a leaf if it were in a Jell-O mold. A leaf is almost like a salad green, isn't it?
It is. And chill until set. It's that easy.
That easy.
And it's so good. Here, taste.
Oh, it's so crunchy and creamy. I can just taste the nutrients.
Join us tomorrow for another elegant Jell-O recipe. An international dish adapted for your kitchen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And remember, we love you.
You've been listening to Elegant Entertaining with Ease. For a cassette copy of today's recipe, send $49.95 to Leafy Jell-O Greens, Post Office Box 20653, Rutabaga, Idaho.
And now, a paid political announcement from Clem LaBoche, candidate for governor.
When it comes to my opponent, Mr. Blap Krennickel, I'm not a man to beat around the bush, so I'll give it to you straight. Blap Krennickel is an ignorant, incompetent, money-hungry place marker where a man should be. And he's ugly, too. Real ugly. And why is it that there's a strange odor whenever he walks into a room? So remember when you go to vote, there's no odor when Clem LaBoche walks into a room.
Clem LaBoche. No odor, no nonsense.
Krennickel could make a toupee with all that nose hair.
Welcome to City Line of Central City and Dyersville. Please enter a category number.
DUM Entertainment News and Features. We'll be right back.
Your video store That's Rented has rented every video at its Dyersville location, so don't bother visiting That's Rented because all our videos are gone. In entertainment news, Madonna, Prince, Boy George, and Michael Jackson all announced wedding plans Thursday. A publicist for the pop stars says the four will unite in order to share the same wardrobe. Director Spike Lee has cast David Byrne to star in the movie version of the Where's Waldo books. Others appearing in Where the Hell is Waldo include Denzel Washington as a street scene and Nicolas Cage as Waldo's ex-brother-in-law. A religious revival is happening on rock radio thanks to MC Hammer's song Pray and George Michael's Praying for Time. The Mormon Tabernacle Choir is jumping on the bandwagon as well by releasing cover versions of You Can't Touch This and I Want Your Sex. And that's a look at entertainment news. I'm Nobody Special.
To find out why your stocks are plummeting, ask the Bear in Category 4113. Please enter a category number.
The following is a message from Iowa senatorial candidate Blap Krindinkle.
Now, my opponent, Mr. Clem LaBoche, has made some statements that I think need looking into. Mr. LaBoche says that I can't do my job, that I'm just a lying, money-grubbing warthog. Would you trust such a statement coming from a man who picks his nose, then eats it? Mr. LaBoche says that he will see to it that the farmers of Iowa get $3 million each in support. Does such an outrageous claim sound possible, especially one made by a man who was a bedwetter for 27 years? He plans to raise the literacy rate by requiring books in every home. Yet the man himself, yes, Mr. Clem LaBoche, when he goes to the John, doesn't even wipe. I do. I'd also make a good senator. So when you go to vote, remember the one that wipes 3 times. Vote Blap Krindinkle for governor. Thank you.
Blap Krindinkle for governor. He doesn't pick at his scabs either.
And now, Tales to Uplift presents Bobby's Posthumous Victory. Bobby Van Zanderplank was an unusual sort of child. All his life, he had wanted only one thing, to prove himself as the best American 6th grade speller in the South Dakota State Spelling Bee Finals. Perhaps this strange desire arose from too many natal viewings of a boy named Charlie Brown, but whatever the reason, Bobby studied the dictionary day and night, all throughout his puerile days.
Syzygy. S-Y-Z-Y-G-Y. Syzygy. 2. T-O. 2.
Never had a young boy studied as diligently as Bobby Van Zanderplank, but all was not peaches and cream in Bobby's elementary school career.
Bobby, what is 8 plus 7?
8. E-I-G-H-T. 8. 7. S-E...
Actually, Bobby, I wanted you to...
Actually, A-C-T-U-A-L-L-Y.
Shut up!
Bobby at long last reached the 6th grade, despite the opinion of many people that he was operating at the sub-retarded level. It took a mere 23 years, but all that time hadn't softened his enthusiasm or determination. He was on his way to the state spelling bee.
Oh, Bobby, I'm so proud of you, even if you are still in grade school when most men are completing college.
Don't worry, Ma. When I win that spelling bee, everything will be stupendous. If only these strange headaches would let up.
Triumph and tragedy struck at once when, on the same day that Bobby registered for the state spelling bee competition, the headaches he had been having were diagnosed as terminal brain hemorrhages.
Doc, there's got to be some way that you can cure me, hopefully before the contest.
Well, Bobby, there is a way, but it's a very painstaking operation, and you'd end up in the hospital for months.
No! I'd miss the spelling bee!
Bobby had to make a tremendous choice. He could fulfill his life or continue it. But if he couldn't prove himself after far too much time in preparation, then the pathetic years he had lived would have no meaning.
No, Bobby. If you don't get this operation, you'll be in the doghouse with me. We're going to save your life, whether you like it or not, young man.
But, Mom...
Yet the morning of the spelling bee, minutes before the operation was to commence, Bobby Van Zanderplank found in himself new resolve to get to the state capitol.
The guard outside my door is asleep. This is my chance!
And a few hours later, Bobby was on his way to the 6th grade spelling bee finals. His legs got chopped off in a train accident, and he had to crawl on his hands through a hailstorm. By the time he reached the capitol, the headaches were almost too much to take. The room spun, and he felt as if he was burning, even though he was only wearing a hospital gown.
The first word, terminal.
T-E-R-M-I-N-A-L. Terminal.
Blood pounded in his ears for the last time as Bobby heard his word.
Embalmment.
Embalmment. E-M-B-A-L-M-M-E-N-T. Embalmment.
Next word, crematorium.
Bobby got through the next 2 hours beautifully, aside from sudden blindness and frequent vomiting. He remembered the 2 S's in Thanatosis, and he impressed the whole assembly with his knowledge of the British R-E ending in sepulcher. In the end, it all came down to one word.
Mausoleum.
Mausoleum!
Bobby! There you are! Quick, the doctor and I are here to get you back to the hospital so we can save your life. There's still time!
U-S...
Bobby!
Oh! No, Mrs. Zanderplank. Your son's got to finish this. We can't make him live the rest of his life knowing that he failed the one lifelong thing he'd lived his whole life to achieve.
Bobby, no!
Bobby Van Zanderplank achieved his dreams at the price of his life. But it was a fair trade, considering his life wasn't much. whereas at least his school could show off the trophy he won at the contest. This has been another in a series of Tales to Uplift.
You're hearing the sounds of KPUT from dazzling downtown Dyersville. This is Jerry McCool with you, and since I'm new here, it might take me a while to get used to this whole thing. See, I really want to play some jazz, but I can't seem to find a show that fits my tastes.
Maybe I can help.
Who said that?
Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Gromius Clip, and I'm a big fan of your show.
Thanks, but I don't have one yet.
I'm also an avid listener of KPUT, and I know where the bodies are buried, so to speak.
Say it again?
Where the shows are hidden. Here, look at this list of program titles and pick the jazziest.
In Bed with Ned, Delbert of Dyersville. None of these look so hot, man. Doesn't anybody here know jazz?
Well, there used to be Stephen Pill, but he only had 2 shows.
Like what?
He hosted the Community Access Radio Forum.
Hey, I don't think anybody would groove to that.
Then he did the show Now You're Cooking.
Oh, yeah, that's more like it. I'll take over for that show.
This may not be what you want.
No, it's cool, man. I'm cool. Hey, let's do a commercial, and I'll start it up.
Iowa gubernatorial candidate, Clem LaBarge.
Mr. Blap Krindinkle has said many things about me, only some of which are true. But I believe Mr. Krindinkle is pointing the finger at me to draw attention away from his own faults. In 1983, Mr. Krindinkle belted his 81-year-old mother. Hard. Sent the poor woman to the hospital. And this, coming from a so-called supporter of Social Security and privileges for the elderly. And what is he doing talking about raising the level of education when he's been declared mentally retarded by 7 of Dyersville's most renowned psychologists? And Mr. Krindinkle, who tries to show himself as a friend of the environment, goes out of his way to crush small animals under the heel of his boot. I've seen him, and he laughs while he does it. He just thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. So send me to the House of Congress. Send him to the Nut House. Remember, Clem LaBarge for Senator.
Clem LaBarge, chosen 2-1 over the leading brand in a blind taste test.
And I do not pick my nose and eat it.
Okay, welcome to Now You're Cooking, where we'll play some classic bebop mixed with contemporary fusion. This is Jerry McCool, and before we start swinging, I'll take some requests. Hello, you're on with Jerry.
Yeah, how much syrup should I use in a rum cake?
I think you have the wrong station, lady. Let's get on another line here. Hello.
Yeah, Jerry, I want to congratulate you on taking over Now You're Cooking.
Oh, thank you, man. Hey, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, finally someone can play Basie and Brubeck without caring about basil and butter.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, we'll try and spread some of that on. Thanks for calling. Weird, man. Hello, Now You're Cooking.
I'm calling about the recipe you read for rice pudding.
Oh, whoa. I don't even dig rice pudding.
Well, what about your cheese souffle?
Oh, listen, baby, if you don't have a song to request...
But isn't this the cooking show?
Cooking? You mean the show is a... All right, I'll ask somebody about that cheese thing, and we'll just forget about the jazz for now, okay?
Now You're Cooking.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to this afternoon's wrestling match, where the Hawkeyes under Dan Gable are keeping on top of the ISU Wombats. I'm Tanner Cransel-Prance, and with me today is Jerry DeGoosh.
I'd like to remind our listeners that today's meet is sponsored in part by Good Bread. The bread's so good we had to call it by name.
And by Dippy's 24-hour office supply store for the man who needs a notebook at 3 a.m.
Coming out onto the mat now are Ted Spurt, number 26 of the Hawkeyes, and for the Wombats, Gary Lebop, number 14.
They've locked their arms, and the referee has given the signal.
Ted Spurt shows excellent concentration as his bulging curves strain against the minimal confines of his uniform.
Gary Lebop gives a soft sigh like the flutter of a dove's wing as he is thrown to the mat.
Ted Spurt for the Hawkeyes on top now, trying to pin his opponent down to the mat, his face a mask of determination.
His back almost completely on the mat, Lebop outwardly struggles against his competitor, inwardly inviting those violent moves that he knows so well.
Spurt grunts with surprise and passion as the tables are turned. Lebop has wriggled out of his cruel embrace and thrown the Hawkeye champion to the ground. Spurt is pressing futilely upward with his groin in a worthless attempt to gain the upper hand once more.
But it doesn't look like Lebop's going to give it to him, instead savoring the sweet violence of the moment. A passing second's delightful ache.
Lebop's made excellent placement of his thighs, wouldn't you say, Tanner?
You bet I would.
I think what we're seeing here, and I hope you'll agree with me, Tanner, is the reapplication...
Yeah, sure, whatever, just shut up. I want to watch the rest of this.
Oh, sorry.
His muscles pressing down so savagely yet so tenderly, Lebop successfully keeps his opponent from getting back up.
The seconds are flying by madly as the two expert wrestlers pulsate in unison, and Ted Spurt has almost almost reached the 10-second limit.
And there's the mutual climax. The two bodies fall away from each other, invisible shudders of ecstasy.
I'd say that this is some of the best male erotic fulfillment we've seen this season, which is a surprise coming so early on in the year.
Yeah, as you can see from the faces in the audience, which are just as exhausted as the wrestlers, the crowd got just what they came for. Wouldn't you say so, Jerry?
Yeah, well, whatever. I'd like to stay and chat, but I'm heading for a cold shower.
Enjoy, Jerry. Until the next Hawkeye Wrestling meet, this is Tanner Kranzelprant saying, I need a cigarette.
Paramutual of Idaho presents Paramutual of Idaho's Wonderful World of Wildlife with your host, Myron Nimrod. Hello, I'm Myron Nimrod. In the heart of America, from the right ventricle and on up to the aorta near the left auricle, begins the annual migration of the species Homo cannabis, better known as the Bohemian, the beatnik, the hippie, the freak. Today, Paramutual of Idaho's Wonderful World of Wildlife takes a fascinating look at the strange and wondrous freak. I'll be back after this message. The good people at Paramutual of Idaho believe that if life is a gamble, why not put some real money down? They will bet you that you will not die soon. If you remain alive, you pay them. But if you die, they pay you. Either way you win, with Paramutual of Idaho. And now, back to our program. Contrary to popular misconception, the term Homo cannabis does not mean homosexuals who eat other people. It, in fact, means bisexuals who smoke other people's marijuana. The freak travels in a flock called a commune and can be found in most national parks, often nesting in mushroom-shaped wickiups. The males of the commune mark off their territory by urinating around their encampment. Here is a recording of a male specimen in one of its natural habitats, the Grateful Dead concert.
Oh, hey man, did you catch last night's show? The Dead opened with Fire Circle, and then they went into Sugar Begonias, and then Space, all new Minglewood Blues, new Minglewood Blues, and then they went into Drums. It must have been the Ramble on Roses, Space, Drums, U.S. Blues, and Weather Report. Space, drums, space, don't ease me and Bobby McGee and my Uncle John's band in. Space, drums, space.
The freaks at Grateful Dead concerts are called Deadheads, as is suggested by their lemming-like behavior to ultimately become their folk heroes, Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix. Their coverings are called dyes, as they are brightly colored so that hunters are better able to see and shoot them. I'll be back after this message. The good folks at Paramutual of Idaho believe that all forms of life are precious and should be preserved, perhaps on one's mantle or on the wall above one's fireplace. And now, back to our program. Well, that's all for today. But be with me next time when Paramutual of Idaho's Wonderful World of Wildlife takes a fascinating look at the bumpkin, the hick, the hayseed, the redneck. This is Myron Nimrod saying goodbye.
And now it's time for One Day to Live, the terminal daytime drama.
On the last episode of One Day to Live...
I'm sorry, fill in the blank, but you have only one day to live. I'm sorry, fill in the blank, but you have only one day to live.
What? I have only one day to live?
No, not you. I said I'm sorry, fill in the blank.
That's my name, Phil Norris DeBlank.
And now, today's episode of One Day to Live.
No, you don't understand. I was lying. I'm a complete liar. You must believe me.
It's all right, Doctor. I believe it is better to live with the truth than to die in ignorance. I won't do anything irrational or cowardly. I'll kill myself instead of passively letting the disease do it for me. How do you feel about euthanasia?
Well, I feel that Asians should be allowed to have all the kids they want, but that's beside the point. Mr. DeBlank, just because I say that you have only one day to live doesn't necessarily mean it's true. You shouldn't jump to conclusions.
You're right. I shouldn't jump to my death. I'm afraid of falling. I'll shoot myself. Nah, it takes a whole day to get a gun. I'll throw myself in front of a car. That's it. I want to thank you for being so compassionate, Doctor. Now, if you'll excuse me, rush hour is beginning.
Wait! Mr. LeBlanc! You forgot your coat!
Don't worry, Mr. Kilberry. I'll call the lab and have them accidentally switch his tests so it looks like he had only one day to live.
What did you do with my identical twin brother, the real but deceased Dr. Robert Allen Kilberry?
I put a coat over him and a hat on his head to cover his eyes. He's sitting in the waiting room with a magazine in his hands.
Won't the patients suspect something?
They won't say a word if they get in to see you before he does. From now on, Mr. Kilberry, write the person's name in the blank, with your other hand, of course, and practice saying that. The next patient has one day to live, and her name is Betty Jean Glovka. I'll send her in.
Thanks, Nurse Dammit. Betty Jean Glovka.
Hello, Rob. I understand that the results of my test are back from the lab. I want you to know that even though we've been friends for many years, you can be honest with me.
I'm sorry. What's your name?
Betty Jean. Betty Jean Glovka.
Forgive me. I can't read my own writing. I'm sorry, Betty Jean Glovka, but you have only one day to live. I'm sorry, Betty Jean Glovka, but you have only one day to live.
What are you saying, Rob?
Be with us next time, if you're still with us, for another episode of One Day to Live.
The following is a public service announcement.
Do you have trouble maintaining a relationship?
Hey, we're live at a fancy restaurant, and coming up, 30 minutes of continuous dinner.
Michael, you promised you wouldn't do this tonight.
Have your work habits tainted your home life?
Here's your toast, and if you act now, I'll throw in 2 eggs and a slice of bacon.
Ah, honey, stop sounding like that Ginsu knife ad. Jeez.
Or worse yet, are people not accepting the total you?
What do you mean you only love me for my voice?
Is that all I am to you?
If you have any of these problems, then come to Announcers Anonymous.
Announcers Anonymous, or Ananon, is the only program reaching out to announcers who want to communicate like everyone else.
Relearn to talk like a normal person with step-by-step program designed to reduce your speech.
Attend weekly meetings and hear testimonials from others in your support group.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and I'm a sports announcer.
Hi, Kevin.
I used to do 5 games a week and 4 on Sundays. I did color commentary, play-by-plays, and everything. But now, through Ananon, I learned to talk like I used to, and now my family really listens to me.
Thanks, Kevin.
For years, I was typecast as the voice of doom. My powerful, low voice made children scream and sent adults running for bomb shelters. But now, thanks to Ananon, I no longer do those roles. Sorry.
Announcers Anonymous helps people at any level, whether they're Joe Schmo or Walter Cronkite.
And Ananon is the only program recommended by Don Pardo.
That's right. It's the only anti-announcing program I ever went to. Now I only use this voice on the job, and otherwise...
I use my regular voice.
So if you or someone you know has a speaking problem, give us a call.
We're in the Yellow Pages under Animal Shelters.
Our untrained operators are standing by.
Announcers Anonymous.
Learn to speak normal again.
Hold it. Try it again with less emphasis. Go.
Learn to speak normal again.
No, wait, don't accent normal. You sound like a commercial. One more time.
Learn to speak normal again?
Yes, that's great. That sounds great.
And now, a message from State Representative candidate Blap Krendinkle.
There's been a lot of name-calling and doodle-slinging, and while my opponent, Mr. Clem LaBoche, is taking you on a tour of my own personal character traits, which he has no business putting on display, I'd like to show you his dark side. I'd like to ask, what business is it of his to endorse prayer in schools when he worships Lucifer? That's right, he serves the Lord of Darkness, and my crushing squirrels is child's play compared to his burning goats and cows and fiery sacrifices to the ultimate evil. And he may think it's all fine and dandy for every school child to know the Star-Spangled Banner, but does he intend to add to his repertoire Deutschland, Deutschland, since he's got a picture of Hitler in his house? So would you want a satanic, livestock murdering, sodomizing, drug-abusing, communist Nazi representing you in Washington? Or would you want someone who's at least slightly better? I'm right here. All you gotta do is vote for me.
Blap Krendinkle for governor. Just pull that little switch under his name.
that just about does it for KPUT's daily programming.
Hey, man, what about my show? I'd like to do something.
Actually, Jerry, we've got a slot for you with your own title and your own set of music.
Oh, great. Hey, when is it?
Next month.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, I'm cool.
Sorry to give you the runaround on your first day.
No, that's okay, man.
Might I add that you haven't complained loudly, which is very professional.
Thanks, man. Excuse me, I gotta step outside.
Okay. Jerry McCool, ladies and gentlemen. A fine addition to the KPUT roster. Thank you for listening, and from all of us here, good night.
KPUT was produced by members of the radio comedy class Spring 90. Additional production by Hector DeJean, Glenn Keenan, Ryan McDermott, and Stephen Scholes. Special thanks to Andy Nelson and Susan Stapleton. Tune in 2 weeks for another verse in the triumphant battle hymn of KPUT.